He's like, your visa has expired. I'm like, yeah, I know. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Amarachi. I am a grad student in the US, and on this channel I share useful tips about moving to the US as well as documenting my grad school journey. So if this is something you've been interested in, please consider subscribing. Today's video is about how to re-enter the US on an expired non-immigrant visa. Now, disclaimer, what I'm about to say, what I'm about to tell you about is not a scam. It's also not anything anti-legal, so keep that in mind. I'll be talking about something called automatic visa revalidation. So automatic visa revalidation, or AVR for short, is a provision by the US government that allows certain holders of expired non-immigrant visas to re-enter the US after they've been away for a short time. So non-immigrant visas are like H-1B, F1, J1, and all the other visa categories that fall under the non-immigrant status. Now, this does not apply to every single person. There are certain criteria that you need to meet to be eligible for this. The first requirement is that you must have been outside of the US for 30 days or less, and your travel has been to Canada, Mexico, or some adjacent islands. So some of the islands that they consider adjacent islands are the Bahamas, Bermuda, DR, so Dominican Republic, Haiti, Barbados, amongst others. The second requirement is that you must still have a valid admission stamp or paper I-94 record with your arrival and departure information signed by the Department of Homeland Security. Now, this is great because what this means is that even though, say, your F1 student visa has expired, you can, go on a short vacation to Canada, Mexico, or these adjacent islands and be eligible for re-entry into the US. However, a very big thing to note is that when you have gone to these other countries, you must have not applied for a US visa and either been denied or awaiting the approval of the visa. So you really must have gone to just visit this country, not to try to apply for a new visa and get denied. If this happens, you will not be allowed re-entry into the US. There are other things that make you ineligible for this provision, and I'm going to read directly from the US Department of State's website some of these criteria. So a couple of these include, like I said earlier, that you have applied for a new visa which has not yet been issued, you applied for a new visa and was denied, you have been outside of the US for more than 30 days, you have traveled to a country other than Canada, Mexico, or an adjacent island which is not included in the automatic revalidation provisions, you are a national of a state sponsor of terrorism designated country, including Iran, Syria, and Sudan. You are in possession of an F student visa or J exchange visa, and you have traveled to Cuba. So Cuba is not one of the countries that you should go to if you're trying to get this. And the final thing is that you are in possession of an M student visa and you have traveled to a location outside the United States other than Canada and Mexico. So in summary, if, say, I'm Nigerian, so I'll use Nigeria as an example. If I decided to go back home to Nigeria, even if it was for like a 2-week trip, I will not be eligible to re-enter the country if my F1 visa has expired. However, if I go, say, to the Dominican Republic, to Mexico, or to Canada for 30 days or less, I may be allowed re-entry into the country. Now, I'm going to put a direct link to the US Department of State's website that provides this information in the description box. So if this is something that you're interested in exploring, check it out. So now to share my personal experience. So I actually have benefited from this last summer, so summer of 2023. I went briefly to Canada to visit my friends, and my visa had expired, right? I was in Canada, had a good time, it was great. And then when it's time to come back, I knew about this automatic visa revalidation thing. And in preparation, I had my passport and my I-20 standard documents, but I also printed out the information, so the web page of the US Department of State, just because I'm like, if anybody tries to say anything, I will present you with this evidence, like, look, I meet the requirements, so I don't see what the issue is. So when I got to the airport, I obviously had to check in, went to the check-in counter, and there was a little back and forth, and that was primarily because the agents who were working did not have experience with this. Luckily, actually, the agent who was working was a Nigerian guy, and he's like, your visa has expired. I'm like, yeah, I know, but there's this thing. And he's like, oh, I don't really know about it, so I'm going to call my manager. So he called his manager. The manager came and sorted it out. They're like, oh, no, she's fine, she's good, she can board the flight, she can check in. So I left, I went. So just keep in mind that, if you're trying to do this, maybe give yourself some buffer time to potentially sort out any issues or confusion that might arise at the airport, just because like agents working might not know, but definitely like higher up staff probably have information about this. So I left the check-in counter, and in Canada, in Ottawa specifically, I don't know if this is in every airport in Canada, but in the Ottawa airport, there's actually a US Customs and Border Patrol, right? So I had to go through that because obviously I was coming back into the US. When I got to the US Customs and Border Control, I didn't have any issues at all. The guy just asked me for my passport and I-20. I gave it to him, and he's like, oh, why were you in Canada? I said I was visiting my friends for a couple of days, and that was it. No additional questions. It's like, oh, okay, have a safe flight back to Boston. That was it. No problems at all on the US side, side of customs. This is to say that customs officials know about automatic visa revalidation. Like when I say, he did not even ask me like, oh, your visa has expired, what's going on? No. I just had my old passport that had my US visa on it, my new passport, because obviously that's the valid thing, gave those to him, gave him my I-20, checked the records, good to go. I left, went, boarded my flight, landed in Boston, picked up my luggage and walked right out. So when I arrived in Boston, I did not have to go through another customs and border patrol check. Now, to answer a question that I had even before I tried this, at the US customs, I did not get a new visa stamp. So I don't have a new visa stamp in my passport. This provision just makes you eligible to come back into the country after you've left. So it doesn't give you an entirely new visa. I just thought to share this because I know a couple of people maybe get visas from their countries that are really short, but you're still in status, you're still a student, and you might want to go to other countries like around, like visit Mexico, visit the Dominican Republic or something for a short time, and you might be like, oh, you might be hesitant because your visa has expired. If that is your only hesitation, I encourage you to explore this automatic revalidation thing. Like I said, I'm going to have the link to the Department of State websites that talks about it in the description box, so check that out. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, like it basically. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Leave a comment for me. It helps the channel. It helps my video get pushed out to other people. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.